the Indiana Fever select Caitlin Clark, University of Iowa.
During her senior year, in the January of 2024, she broke the Big Ten record for all-time scoring. 2 weeks later, she became the NCAA Division I career scoring leader. During the Big Ten tournament, a month later, she surpassed Stephen Curry for the most three-pointers in a single season by a D1 athlete of any gender. This stardom created the Caitlin Clark effect. The 2024 National Championship game brought in 18.7 million viewers, the largest ever viewership of a women's basketball game, and the highest basketball viewership for ESPN in the last 5 years, regardless of gender. So in April of that year, she's the #1 draft pick and is signed to the Indiana Fever. Her first press conference was more than an arrival of a first draft pick. It was the dawn of a new age in the WNBA. Gregg Doyel, the Indy Star columnist, was in attendance. He's a notable journalist. He's worked for CBS Sports in the past. He's been a reporter for the Miami Herald, and he has 2 first-place finishes in the Associated Press Sports Editors Annual Contest for column writing. And he opens by awkwardly mimicking the heart gesture that she holds up at the ends of games.
Hi, Caitlin. Gregg Doyel, Indy Star. Real quick, let me do this.
You like that?
I like that you're here. I like that you're here.
I do that at my family after every game, so
okay, well, let's
cool.
Start doing it to me and we'll get along just fine. So
Gregg Doyel did not open up that press conference with the intention to seek the truth and report it. He inserted himself into this narrative for no reason whatsoever. Under the reduced harm guideline, there's a bullet point that says avoid pandering to lurid curiosity, even if others do. And in this case, this curiosity for why the hand gesture or wanting to have it back and forth, you just should avoid that kind of curiosity because it's not relevant.
To understand the fallout, we have to look at who was involved and who was affected. Theoretically, you could say there were a lot of stakeholders in this instance. #1, we obviously have Caitlin and Gregg Doyel. Beyond that, there's the WNBA, the other players in the WNBA, Clark's family, whom she does the gesture towards. We have Doyel's employer, which is the Indianapolis Star. For Caitlin Clark, this interaction is not just affecting her, it's affecting the entire WNBA and largely how female athletes are treated in the spotlight. Other people who were affected were the Indiana Fever and the fans of the Fever, fans of the WNBA in general. Keep in mind, this is Caitlin's first introduction to Gregg Doyel. I would characterize the social media response as extremely polarizing. #1, you've got Reddit, which was very positive sentiment. Everyone agreed with the media saying this is terrible. #1, it's creepy. #2, it's unprofessional.
For the outsiders, lived in Indy for 30 plus years, nobody I know actually listens or cares what GD has to say or write. No clue why the Indy Star still employs him, but like a lot of things these days, he fell in line with the right side of an employer's ideology, says Seeking 6. At Colts Crusade, Gregg Doyel, I hate him with a passion that will never die. The highlight of my night was Gregg Doyel getting shit on. He's not allowed near Caitlin Clark because he was being a creep. At Enormous 1975, better be apologizing to head coach Christy Sides and Caitlin Clark for referring to Caitlin as that and it. To head coach, you just were given the keys to that, and what are you going to do with it? You should be covering the obituaries and not women's basketball.
Christy, Gregg Doyel, Indy Star, hi. You just were given the keys to that. What are you going to do with it?
It's always ethically wrong when a newspaper writer injects himself or herself into the story, but you did. The words of your mouth communicate what you are truly feeling inside. Your newsroom handlers should yank the keyboard away from you and point towards the door.
However, on Instagram, Facebook, X, interestingly enough, on those platforms, the sentiment was very negative.
At German OG 44. Dude, it was a heart symbol. She played into and seemed to have no problem with it. Might even have liked it. Stop being a feminist. At Leigh Smith 6. Come on, dude. This is taken out of context as usual. Dude was talking about her heart sign coming off the court. You're messing with this guy's life. At Optical Prime 36. The convo was no doubt unprofessional, but sexist pervert makes zero sense whatever. Even if he was flirting, that does not make someone sexist, nor did he say anything perverted. What a strange comment. At Zach Ryder. Maybe Gregg Doyel just had a bad day.
These fans were very unhappy that Gregg Doyel and the Star were being characterized as the villains here. They would like to see the benefit of the doubt here and are actually pushing against the notion that this was highly sexist and inappropriate. As far as Doyel's consequences went with the Indy Star, they banned him for 2 weeks, and they also banned him from covering any Indiana Fever games in person, but he is currently covering things for them remotely. Gregg Doyel took to X to say, "Today, in my uniquely oafish way while welcoming at Caitlin Clark 22 to Indy, I formed my hands into her signature heart hand emoji. My comment afterwards was clumsy and awkward. I sincerely apologize. Please know my heart, literally and figuratively, was well-intentioned. I will do better." He later also said that he was shocked and disappointed to learn that he was part of the problem. So, truly, in accordance with the code of ethics, that was proper from his part. Largely, the public's reaction is, at best, this was highly, highly unprofessional and creepy at worst.
According to Gregg Doyel, he was attempting to be welcoming and clever with his comments directed at Caitlin Clark. This was his first time interviewing the first overall draft pick of 2024, and he was attempting to break the ice. Doyel thought his jokes would help familiarize himself with Clark and make for a smoother conversation. Positive public reactions seem to share the same message that Doyel was harshly punished for just being awkward or cringeworthy. Many comments include a call to action that people should just relax and that the situation was being blown out of proportion. Doyel quickly responded with a short apology on X. Journalists are taught not to insert themselves into stories as a way to avoid creating new biases. Now, Doyel did the exact opposite in this case. He turned Clark's very first press conference of her professional league into a story about himself. Many people also point out his later comment directed at Clark, calling her that and it, as reinforcement to the idea that misogyny and sexism are still prevalent in women's sports. Fans also argued that Doyel should have never made the comment and immediately went into his questions. Negative public reactions included anger and disgust at the fact that Doyel only received a 2-week suspension with the termination of covering Indiana Fever in person. The idea that Doyel only got a 2-week suspension over an incredibly inappropriate and unprofessional comment was baffling to the public. And others have a recurring call to action that Doyel himself should be fired from the Indy Star.
It's jarring that the impression that it gives is that he can be professional and direct, seek the truth, minimize harm for all of these men's sports he's been covering for 20 years, but when it comes to Caitlin Clark and women's sports, there's different rules for him. What he should have done differently, he should have used his 20 years of journalistic experience to ask a good question. My big ethical question at the end of this is, as journalists, are we being trained for the nuance between women covering men's sports and men covering women's sports?
In the SBJ Code of Ethics, journalists are encouraged to be accountable and transparent. In this case, that includes responding promptly to any criticism, valid or invalid, and Gregg Doyel does respond. He takes to Twitter, he immediately says, "I'm sorry," but should he stay? Should he go? Should he still be allowed to cover the Fever? That's up to you.
According to the SBJ values of act independently, the highest and primary obligation of ethical journalism is to serve the public. This includes avoiding conflicts of interest, real or perceived. When Gregg Doyel made those comments towards Caitlin Clark, this could be perceived as creating a bias. Can he ever cover the Indiana Fever without a bias again? That question's up to you.